James Stokes, co-founder and CEO of On3 LLC. We're talent management specialists who focus on executive search and recruiting, knowledge capture, and innovative training. We've also assembled a group of cultural organizational group specialists. And today we have with us Nathan Bourne of MyCore. MyCore is an all-in-one subscription services for payroll, human resources, benefits, which include 401k, and time tracking. One of the unique differentiators MyCore brings to the table is they assign each of their clients a single point of contact, or what they call a personal advisor. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Nathan. And Nathan, I'm going to start the interview off as I do with everyone else. I ask why in the beginning and why at the end. So why do you do what you do? What is your why?
Love it. Love that question. And I know when we were speaking, sort of preparing for this moment, I had shared with you a philosophy that I live by, and I will answer the question, so hopefully it doesn't annoy you. But I've been immersed in leadership, people development, personal development, professional development formally for the last 12 years, 13, coming up on 13 years. I'll be 33 next month. And at 20 years old is when I really dove into entrepreneurship. And I had this obsession with the why for years. And I led large teams, and I would constantly talk to people about their why. And I always wondered, what really separated people? Was it the strength of their why? Was it the depth of their why? And I think I learned and discovered that there was something deeper, kind of right underneath the why and very closely connected to it. And it's the who. Often when you ask people what their why is, they're going to answer with really a who. It's their father they want to make proud. It's their children that they want to leave a legacy for. It's their culture that they want to impact. And if you really listen, you're like, wait, that's not a why. That's a who. So I live my life by a principle I call lead with who, or to lead, and I try to lead with who in everything that I do. In fact, that's actually the vision of MyCore. Our official vision is that all people in everything we do lead with who. We envision a world where people put people first, even before the mission, the cause, or the why. And if that is the anchor, the why becomes noble naturally, because you're putting people first. So that said, it's the people in my life. It's my wife, it's my kids, it's my siblings. I'm actually the fourth of 9 children, James. And I come from a big family of origin. I have a relatively big family of creation. And my employees, just the people that I wake up and interface with, are why I do what I do, but really who I do what I do, if that makes sense.
It really does. I actually appreciate that cut on it, because and even if the who is yourself, that's right, perfectly acceptable as well in any type.
And it is. That's the thing. I think most people don't realize. One time, kind of previously when I do more speaking, somebody asked me this question. Actually, I just thought of this. Somebody asked me this question. We did like Q&A, and at this time I was probably 24, 25. And the question essentially was, hey, Nathan, you're a young guy, your peers aren't doing this. Why are you doing this? Why do you work so hard? Why do you, strive, in this way? And there was at least 200-300 people in the audience. And I said, I do it for my ego. And the place just started laughing, right? And they're like, what a jerk, And I have a little chip on my shoulder. I'm a pretty confident guy, so you can see how it went over not so well, right? But I let it sit, and I said, and so do you, because your ego is made up of love and respect, and we all want to be loved and respected, and we especially want to be loved and respected by people that we love and respect. If a person comes up off the street who's a stranger and says, you're the best, that doesn't matter so much. But if your father or your mother or your mentor, somebody that you look up to. So sort of tongue in cheek, yeah, of course I do it for myself too. I sleep really well at night. I like who I wake up and am in the morning. And I joke with my team all the time. I say, look, you guys, you have to deal with me. I have to deal with me 24/7. Can you imagine? That is a stressful job. So it's definitely for me too. And I think that's all connected. So yeah, who I am, who they are, and the connection thereof is why I do what I do.
When is MyCore at its best?
Great question. I think we're at our best when our clients or prospective clients are in a growth phase. And it normally starts in their mind, right? It doesn't mean they have to be like hiring, they just hired 10 people, but they've made a decision, they've made a commitment to growing, and really modernizing. A lot of organizations, it's fun for us because we've got companies that are emerging, they've been in business for 24 months and they're growing. And we have clients that have been in business for 60 plus years, and are north of 100 employees. And they're going, we'd like to get in the 21st century. And we're like, awesome. And I think you kind of touched on it when you introduced me. The single point of contact known as the people advisor, that's a really powerful model because it allows for customization. We've taken this really convoluted, really busy industry, and each of the verticals of payroll, benefits, and HR are that way. You combine them all, it's like, whoa.
It's a monster.
It's a monster. And I'm really proud of how we've configured it and compiled it, because we've made it what could seem like cookie cutter, but it's really just to make it digestible, to make it like, oh, I can understand the navigation of that rather than it being a big cluster of it all.
Well, the frame's the frame. You may have differentiators, whether you have tires, a bigger engine, or something like that, but
exactly,
it's fundamentally all the same.
Exactly, right? So within that framework comes customization, and a major part of that is meeting people where they're at. If they're in 1981, we might need to get them to 2001 before we get them to 2021. And we know that we can, and we have these very real conversations, and they're pretty lively if you hear them behind the scenes, right? Like, holy, but let's get them there. In year 2, we'll get them to 2011. And in year 3, so I think we're at our best because I should say, we're meeting our client where they're at, we're respecting sort of their journey up to that point, and we're not arrogant about it, like, oh, you guys are still doing that on paper,
311.
Exactly, and even though we're like, I think there's one other employee that's younger than me, so most of my employees are seasoned in life, you know what I mean, and they've learned technology to be tech savvy and super modern, but they also know people and the way that people behave, and I think that marriage is what makes it best for the client and best for us.
Yeah, there's an art in marrying technology to people and making people understand it and utilize it and everything. So, when is MyCore at its worst?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we've navigated through this early on. We put the cart before the horse a lot of times, and it's sort of a strength and a weakness. I'm confident in our ability to learn in real time and course correct. And I think we've slowed down a little bit and just said, hey, let's really qualify whether that's the right client for us. We have super high retention, and I'm really proud of it. It's north of 95%. I mean, we just don't lose clients. But in the clients that we have lost over the journey, especially in the earlier stages, it just because it wasn't the right fit. And we should have learned that earlier, right? So we're not perfect by any means, but I would say we're at our worst when we don't evaluate whether that's really the right fit on so many levels, intangibly, tangibly, a number of sort of filters and factors.
As we say, we try to please everyone, but what do you do with the people that don't want to be pleased? There's just people that don't want to be pleased.
Yeah, they're just, you can't help them.
Why should a client call you? Why? I mean, why should they engage your services?
Yeah, I'm going to answer that question as part of the value proposition so that they don't have to call ADP. They don't have to call Paychex. They don't have to call Paylocity. They don't have to call their broker, their Aflac agent, their legal shield associate, their financial advisor. They don't have to call an HR consultant. When a business owner recognizes that the highest best use of their time is not payroll, benefits, and HR, or interfacing with the vendors, or taking one of their top talented people and trying to offload those tasks on them when they're paying them a salary or a high hourly rate, that's when they should call us, right? And go, wait a second, I can get this all in one place, and I'm getting the advisory part of it, the human part of it, and I'm paying the same as I'm paying my payroll company right now. I think that's sort of what makes MyCore special, is that we baked all of that into one package. And you would think you'd need to pay an hourly rate or a consultant fee for that. We built it really nimble. And pre-COVID, we were remote. We were without offices. We were, in the palm of our hands and on laptops. And at that time, I said, I want to be mobile. I want everything to exist in the palm of the hand. I couldn't have predicted a global pandemic, right? But that sort of worked out, because now companies are going, okay, we get it. We need to be far more agile, and you're the right fit to make that actually happen. So that's when they should call. And when they don't want to do it themselves, because the other solution, the other end of the spectrum, is all DIY. So if a business owner woke up today and was like, I'm modernizing this, you are completely on your own. You are going to be in libraries, you're going to be in live chats, you're going to have to go through this crazy learning curve that we've already forged the path for over the last 3 years. You should just subscribe to MyCore. Objectively, you should do that.
Now, if I'm correct, you're also in all 50 states.
Correct. Yeah.
So I know it's a benefit to us because, being a recruiting and staffing agency, we have people in multiple states. Every year they come out with 9-foot volume of new changes, and who has time to keep up with that? Which is why I like your services, to keep up with all that. And I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah. And we navigate it in real time. That there's a whole slew of compliance matters that we can handhold through. And we have a great partner for more of the involved issues. And we just show them up front, like, hey, look, we can do this together as kind of part of your subscription. Or you could pay this one-time fee of $400 and it'll be, in a beautiful package for you. And most of the time the clients go, yeah, that's just
get that off my plate.
Yeah,
right.
I don't want to deal with that. So we don't overpromise in that category, because there's just a lot that goes into expanding into new states. But the general, like, hey, I have employees in 4 different states, no problem. We deal with it all day. In fact, we have clients that are paying international. So we can help pay across the globe, which is cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
just
unique.
Give us an example of your most proudest accomplishment or your greatest success at MyCore.
I'm really proud of a client that we have here in Maryland. They're headquartered out of Annapolis. And what makes them special, I think, is how sophisticated of an organization they are. And when you're working with people that get it, and they really get it because they've been in that space before, and they're proud to be part of your, value, it just sort of, I don't know, it like feeds your soul, right? And I can remember doing the demo with this. Now they've been a client for probably 18 months, and they've referred us. They have other businesses that they've brought on. And the COO of this company, he said, look, I was with a PEO, a professional employment organization, for years, and I know this space. Like, he's like, this is what I do. And he kind of joked with us, being like, I'm at this company to do this, like to make this happen. And I've never seen anything like MyCore, kudos to you. And he said that on the onset, right? So that was nice, because, the first impressions are good. We can all kind of showcase ourselves well. It's like a first or second date, you're really on, and then it gets real, right? But he's like our poster child at this organization, because we love each other. And I talked to Laura, the CXO, and she's like, it's not easy. Like, we deal with some stuff together that's frustrating, and challenging, because they're actually the organization that pays globally. They've got kind of a lot of unique stuff going on that isn't your normal run-of-the-mill client. But I'm proud of that, because it's like, if we can perform at that level of complexity, we have a lot of capacity for the bakery, for the restaurant, for the tech company that has 5 employees working out of a co-working space. Like, that's our bread and butter. And we learn so much from the complex companies that it just feeds the overall client experience. So I'm always looking for that to see like, how are we growing our current client base? Are they referring us to their friends and family? And if they own a second or third business, are they shielding up all of those businesses? And we're seeing that a lot too. So here in Baltimore, we have a restaurant, Duck Duck Goose, and they started with one location, one entity, and then they went to 2 and 3, and now they're opening up their 4th, and they just see MyCore as like an anchored part of their, growth strategy. And that's exciting too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my core competency, which is why I love you guys, because, it takes it off my plate and allows me to focus on what I do best. So if you have, if your staff's overworked and you're looking for a good payroll, benefits, HR, all in one stop shopping, it's all in the cloud, all digitized. So there's plenty of cost savings. I highly recommend giving Nathan and MyCore a call, and you can call me if you have any questions. But thank you, Nathan, for your time, and hopefully our clients find benefits and utilize your services such as we have.
Likewise. Thank you.